Hey guys, it's SF and new Ascensions are here right now in NA. Some of them you can ascend right away, like Lancelot X and I think Loreley. No, not Loreley. I think it's only Lancelot X that you can ascend right now. And then there is a new hatchery coming up on the 17th that has Micha as a new monster. And of course, for that new monster, Micha and the Ascensions, there's also a new batch of event dungeons just for those guys, Medusa and Behemoth. So I'm going to be running them down each one by one, and I'm going to start off with Micha or Mikaido in Japan. First off with the evolved version, Fiend Slayer. No damage roll for the gauge. She is a sprite and a bounce type and a hit of bounce. Strike shot is a bash and a laser, and bump combo for homing piercing 8. Next up, the Ascend version, sprite balance type, bounce and ability for no damage roll. She loses the Fiend Slayer. Strike shot is she becomes a piercing type, and items become grows by one stage. So that includes hearts, hourglass, and the guide, the strike guide, and bump combo of shotgun and homing piercer 4. Now I am going to. It's kind of a flip for Mikaido. I'm going to say why a little bit later, but I want to talk about the strike shot first because it is a new strike shot for most of you guys. So it becomes a pierce type that's not really much new for people who've used Tokugawa Yoshinobu or Yamato Takeru. But the second part of it is it grows items for through one stage. So what it does, it grows the small hearts to a medium-sized heart, or a medium-sized heart to a gold heart, or it grows either the hourglass to the red version, or it grows the line to the strike guideline to a full one for the team. So very useful in terms of if you need to grow a heart, and then you can use the piercing to actually grab the heart because the hearts don't move. Now, if there's no items on the battlefield at any way, it includes either swords, it includes all the items, boots, swords, whatever. It will create one item out of random, and that will be, it could be either hearts, boots, swords, hourglass, or guideline, and it'll be at a random place. It won't grow at the direction you've pointed to, so you can't get it right away. You might have to get lucky and guess where it comes out. So that's a little bit about the strike shot. Now for the bump combo, shotgun, it 100 shots to a nearby enemy, so it's really good for scorpions. If she's positioned near scorpions, she can take out a scorpion in one bump combo, or even 2 scorpions if she's in the right position. And then of course the homing piercer 4 does help out as well. Now I am going to do a flip. It really depends on what you have and what kind of stage you are within the game. If you're a beginner, go with the evolved version. Of course, you don't need to do ascend materials, and she is not that bad in terms of the evolved form. The Fiend Slayer is really good for monsters that are really early out in the game, like Civisaurus Rex. I think that's pretty much some of them. Slash is also good. She can beat Slash and a lot of other fiends that I can't really remember. But she's really good for the early stages of your game because she's evolved, and she does have a Fiend Slayer to help you out, and of course the no damage wall. And for the strike shot wise, she does have a lower CD compared to the Ascend version, and the Ascend version is more for a supportive use, not really for much of attack use. That's why the evolved version is better in terms of DPS. And bump combo is really good for clearing mobs, especially in the early dungeons in like Civisaurus Rex. You do want to mob clear as fast as possible. But if you have a really strong, if you're really mid game or even like late game, I wouldn't really call any box late game, but if you have a really solid box, then go for the Ascend version, just because you won't be needing that Fiend Slayer much later on in the future dungeons. There's not many new fiend bosses out there, so just take off the Fiend Slayer, grab the more supportive strike shot, as well as the new cool bump combo for you. And in terms of uses, in terms of impossible dungeons, she's okay in Ashura, as well as Marishten. Ashura and Marishten are two really good monsters. They're really good. Although she's not a top tier pick for those dungeons, she can actually do some work instead of being carried, unlike some other monsters that you might have in your box right now. Now let's look at the Ascends, and then I'll be talking about the Ascensions. First up is Medusa. Let's look at the evolved form. So she's a demon, balance, bounce, ability of no warp. Attack's pretty low, but that's more because of her ascension. Strike shot, it is bash and then laser, just like Micha's evolved form, and lock on poison shockwave 6. So it can kill scorpions in one shot. I think that's the main use for it. And unlike Cleopatra, it's this one has infinite range, unlike Cleopatra's evolved form, where it has some where it's only around a really short distance. Now let's look at the Ascend version. Still a demon, balance, no warp, attack. Her attack, it goes down really low. She has a bounce, and then strike shot is the same, bash and then laser, but on an 8-turn cooldown. Bump combo, EX laser L and vertical laser M. The sub gets a little bit of a buff comparative to the other sub bumps, which because the vertical laser is usually S instead of M, now she's an S. But you should go for the evolved version no matter what happens, because the strike shot, although it looks really good, 8-turn cooldown for a strike shot, but her attack's so low that it hardly deals any damage to anybody. I'm pretty sure it won't kill a mob, even a mob. Maybe like the really weak ones, like the fat guys with the forks and knives, but something like the the damage wall monsters that shoots damage wall, I doubt she can one shot even one of them, so go for the evolved version. But in terms of her overall usefulness, not very well, I would say. Her dungeon's relatively easy, so you might want to max luck her. Because you can probably bring a few other max luck monsters, kind of like Jack or like Hydra, if you have those max lucks, or even like Vanilla. If you have those max lucks, she's really easy for Medusa. Then you can go to like a better monster like Louis the 13th, but that comes out like really late. Kind of want to compare it to like Tokugawa Yoshinobu. If you think Tokugawa Yoshinobu is too hard for you to max luck, especially with max luck monsters, then go for Medusa, because although Tokugawa Yoshinobu is better in terms of farming, but that's only for farming like farming shells, farming turtles, or farming for shards, and maybe for like normal dungeons. But if you don't really care about that part, because of that part, then you can go for Medusa, because she's a lot easier, and both of them only lead up to Louis the 13th. Tokugawa doesn't really lead up to another good monster in terms of max luck, so if you have a hard time farming Tokugawa Yoshinobu with max lucks, then go for Medusa and go to that route, and go to Louis the 13th that way. Now let's look at Behemoth. Let's look at the evolve. Ethian monster, power, bounce type, ability of a Viviloft Slayer M, and a Geisha of a Nebulan Slayer M. Very low speed, but she is a power type. Strike shot is bash first enemy and then knockup, and then bump combo is spread shot EL3. Let's look at the Ascend. Same thing, Ethan, power, bounce, but 0 gimmicks, but his attack goes to 38,000. and then speed is of course low as well. Strike shot is a power up. Bump combo is about Giga Blast, and spread shot L2 for the bump. And pretty easy for this one. Go for the evolved version, just because although the Ascend version does have a 30k attack and then a giant like strike shot that powers him up even further, and also has a blast that can proc other bump combos. He is very, very slow. He doesn't deal with any gimmicks. He basically stops whenever he enters a gravity barrier. So not very much use for his ascended version. And then the evolved version is a little bit better, but even so, there's not many. He can't really deal with no gimmicks. So like he can't deal with damage walls. He is slow, so once he steps into a gravity barrier, he hardly does anything. Strike shot is very strong. That's the only thing that's really good about him. It's very, very strong. Bump combo is mediocre. So if you do want to, if you are thinking about like raising a Behemoth, then I wouldn't suggest you actually do it. If you want to actually like use him, if you want to do it for collection, then by all means do it. But you probably won't be using him anytime in the near future, because Vivlof Slayer, there's not many Vivlof bosses, except for like Emerald Dragon, and even Emerald Dragon there's a lot of gravity barriers and stuff like that. And Nebulin Slayer, there's only Saturn that is a Nebulin in terms of bosses. So I think there's one later on, but that dungeon has a lot of warps, so very, very hard to use them. So if you want to just do it for collection or to complete your Monsterpedia, then go for the evolve and ascend, and then keep the evolve one for collection sakes. But I doubt you'll be using him anytime in the near future, unless you really want to handicap yourself and then just want to use it to use him. Now let's look at the Ascensions, the main part, pretty much the main part. But I do recommend you ascend all of them. That's my recommendation. That's everybody's recommendation. And what I'm going to be talking about is how they fare in the future. When they first came into Japan, that was like last November. I talked about what they might become, how well they improved, or how well they do in the future. Now is technically the future, and then we're looking for like 6 months, around 6 months into the future in terms of content, and see how they do well. So I'm going to start as a little countdown, starting from 4 to 1, to see which monsters gone better in terms of overall viability in the future, and then we'll end it there. So starting with number 4 is Lancelot X, Paladin, Bounce, Balance, and then I guess I'll just say what the new additions are is the Gauge of Recovery, and then the Spread Shot L2 for the sub bump. Now, a little thing that I really want to stress about Lancelot X is that his evolve form is it's good. It was good before, just that nobody really uses him for a number of reasons. One, not really good for an impossible dungeon. 2, he is a limited monster, so that he's only available for certain hatchers, and then he's not like really OP enough because he's not really good for an impossible dungeon, so they don't really re-roll for him or actually put in money to actually roll for him. So that's why you don't really see a lot of Lancelot X's in the future as well as in the past. In terms of but if you take away the impossible factor, I think he's just as good as Margaret. Margaret's only really, really good because she is number 1 pick, or nearly one, or a top 2 pick for Izanami. If you take that away from her, then she's basically kind of the same as Lancelot X in his evolve form. One-way laser, no gravity barrier. The strike shots are different. Margaret's has a more supportive strike shot, whereas Lancelot X has a better strike shot in terms of positioning, and it can do more damage than Margaret's strike shot. So if you just take away that Izanami card away, then evolve form was a really, really good. His evolve form was really, really good. Really, really good. But now in the future, one-way lasers are not really good anymore. Even Margaret has been dropped down in tier lists and in ratings because one-way laser is not that prominent anymore. And even in Izanami, Margaret's probably not the number one pick anymore. You have Nanami, the Ascendant Nanami, that's better. Romeo's a lot better. Napoleon's still top. And then there's some maxed out monsters like Queen Butterfly and then Eva 13 to fill in those spots. So that's why he's kind of low tier, very unreally appreciated in the future as well as in the past. He is still good. The recovery is just a basic add-on to what he was in the past, which was really, really good. It doesn't really do well with the one-way laser, so it's not a really good add-on. It could be done better, but he was good enough. He was powerful enough already, so think of it as a thank you gift from Mixie to actually give him something extra. And in terms of dungeons, the recovery did actually make him more usable for Tsukuyomi, because you don't really need to use your one-way laser, you just use your recovery. But that's about it. Now let's look at number 3, and that is not Lancelot X. I click Lancelot X again. Number 3 is Loreley. Loreley, what's added to her is she is the Minesweeper that got added, as well as her bump combo changed into a homing piercer destruction 8, and then her sub bump is a cross laser S. So 3,788 for the sub bump, and then 4,684. That's number 1 in the game, as well as number 1 in the future. There's only one other monster that's has the same bump, and that's Ibaraki Doji. But in terms of overall variability, there are some dungeons in the future that Loreley is really, really good for. Unlike in the past where only the no warp is not really that. There's not one dungeon that has like only no warp except for maybe vanilla. And since she's a water type, you can't really use her for Kushinoda as well. There are some in the future that she's really good. The alien Grey is very good in the future. Kirara is very good. She's very good in the future, as well as Yeti, another monster that's really good that you can max luck for in the future. But in terms of impossible dungeons, she's not that. There's no impossible dungeons she's really good for. And what else is there? And that's why I put on number 3, because Lancelot X was really good. Didn't have much use in the future, whereas Loreley does have some extreme dungeons in the future that she can do well on, and then that's why she's number 3. And also, she becomes a better farming machine. What I did for my account, when on my JP account, where I got Loreley, and I put a Genius Able berry on her, and then I just use her as just to rank up and run normal dungeons on half staminas, and then the farming goes really easy and goes really fast. So that's one of their main uses. It's more on farming instead of dungeon clearing, instead of like extreme dungeon clearing or impossible dungeon clearing. And now that Monster Strike Stadium is out in JP, she's become a little bit more prominent because she is the number 1 pick for that Monster Stadium game. But let's look at number 2, and that's Lancelot. What's added is only the no warp. His bump combo becomes a piercing instead of a normal spread shot, and then a one-way laser M for the sub. This is basically because the no damage wall plus no warp combo, the ability set combo is very good. It's very top tier in JP. It's still being used today. He becomes very good for Izanagi, and as well as Asha in the future as well. So a new impossible dungeon he's good for, and then as well as a past one, as well as one that's coming up for you guys in NA for Izanagi. And then there are some dungeons where in extreme dungeons that he is good for in the future as well, like Kirara or like Grey or stuff like, not Grey, some other ones. There are some other ones out there that I don't really remember, but there are some really good uses for him. Although he didn't really improve that great in terms of output, in terms of damage output, he improved his viability in terms of the actual dungeons, the actual dungeon pool itself. So he doesn't really do better on like specific dungeons that he was already good for. He just broadened his dungeon pool, which I think is really good because viability is an important factor in this game. If one monster can do 10 dungeons, then that's better than like probably like one monster that does well in like 2 or 3 dungeons, that does really well for 2 or 3 dungeons. So I think that's why I think Lancelot's number 2. Now number 1 is of course Merlin. Just like Lancelot X, she was, I think it's a he was powerful in his evolved form, but unlike Lancelot X, the recovery actually increases, makes her a lot better in the future. Especially he's a better pick for Tsukiyomi than Lancelot X. But everything else is the same except for the homing piercer 4, but which is kind of better, kind of really good in terms of a sub bump combo. It can get some hits on scorpions and stuff like that. But you do see a lot of Merlins. He becomes a lot better in Yamato Takeru because Yamato Takeru stable teams have relatively lower HP than other ideal teams in other impossible dungeons, so the recovery does help a lot. Tsukiyomi, of course, you need a recovery to. You don't really need a recovery monster, but it does better. You get a better stable clear, and then yeah, she's like really powerful and in the first place, but it just improved her a lot more. She does her dungeons a lot better, a lot more stable, and of course the bump combo change from EX laser to cross laser, it kind of helps people. I don't know why, but it kind of helps people to actually position Merlin a lot better. It didn't really, in terms of area of damage that the bump combos do, it's the same, the area that it covers, but people just have a better sense of the cross instead of the EX, I guess. But that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this is informative. I do hope that you guys learned something from this. That's why I kind of do this, to actually help you learn about the game, learn about the monsters, and learn about what's coming up and stuff like that. So I hope you guys like and subscribe. If you have any questions, then shoot down a comment or join the Facebook group that I am monitoring. And I hope to see you guys next time. And bye.